How was y'all's weekend?
I had a great weekend.
Tell me.
Um, I actually this Thursday through
How was your
Friday,
weekend?
I was in a tournament and
Okay.
we placed second in my division in doubles and third overall. And then I placed third in singles. So that was a fun thing for me. It was the Tucson Open. I don't know if you guys heard of that in pickleball.
You
No.
are the most pickly of realtors, so
Yeah. So, yeah. And then the next day I held an open house and I got a client, but then they didn't want dual agency. So, that didn't work out. But I learned that I could have referred them. And so that was a lesson learned. But I
there
had
you
a, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I like that. Someone else tell me about wins from this weekend.
I found a potential client at the farmer's market that I had,
Nice.
so I'm excited.
Love that. How many people came to your booth?
A lot of people stopped by, but everybody was like, I just bought a house last year, or because I feel like our area is like basically brand new.
Yeah.
But a couple people grabbed business cards. A lot of people, it was just so hard just to like get their like information. It's like they wanted to talk, but it's just like, oh no, like it's okay, and I'm just like, I don't know. It was my first time doing it, so I was kind of nervous. But the information that I got from the one guy, he actually came up to my booth and he looked really young, so it was nice because I think this is his first like house. I didn't really get to talk to him that much, but I'm hoping to call him today and kind of get more information.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Fingers crossed for you.
I'm excited.
Love that. Who else out there's got something you want to celebrate win from the weekend?
I am on my way to get caffeinated. Compliments of Big Dan Caldwell, and that's A. And then B, I had a open house. Only four came, but um one put in an offer, so we're going to be accepting that. Well, we're going to counter it, but just tiny counters. But we're hoping they're going to accept it. So that's all it takes, just the one.
All right.
Yeah.
Love that. Any other takers? I mean, it's Monday, so I'm gonna let you guys share as much as you want to share and get over the weekend. We had a lot going on.
I
So
got my
10
first
different properties on
unrepresented buyer.
Saturday.
Oh,
I
Oh,
sorry,
got
sorry.
Fabi,
Jim,
go
then
ahead.
Fabby.
Go ahead, Fabi.
Oh, I got my buyer under contract.
Woohoo! Way to go, Fabby.
I'm excited.
I got my first unrepresented buyer from a sign call.
There you go.
My first
Oh,
shot at doing that instead of dual agency.
I don't know why anyone would ever want to do an unrepresented buyer.
It was the advice of my broker.
Your broker's dumb.
Just recorded call being.
Your broker's dumb. No. Yeah, unrepresented buyer is going to be a lot of work on your end, and it's kind of dumb for the buyer to want to be unrepresented. It really is, really is, especially in the condition where a lot of sellers will still pay the compensation.
I agree, it's stupid of the buyer.
But they're saving money.
Yep.
But it's saving my client money. And I'm still being compensated with our new California RLA listing agreement.
Yeah, you're still getting paid. I just think it's dumb to ever tell a buyer that you should probably just unrepresent yourself. No.
I had a person the other day advising a buyer I was working with, and she said something about like, because she read through the buyer broker and some other thing where she was like, well, if she's talking about dual agency, and she's like, well, yeah, if she represents her seller and you, then she gets paid twice as much. So, and I was like, X that. First of all, it's usually not twice as much. And second of all, why would I not get paid more? Because I'm doing twice the work. So you're framing it up as something super awesome for me, whereas it's not twice the pay, but it's twice the work. So let's put this into a real perspective here.
I think that's our job, though. Our job as a real estate professional is to add perspective to it. I got a call the other day from somebody who's wanting to sell their house on their own. They're like, for sale by owner. And it was a client that I had talked to in my, I was a broker issue that I'd handled that the client turned around and said, well, we want to sell our house, but we want to do it without an agent. We're just going to sell it directly to our tenant. I was like, great. She's all, what do we do? So I thought you said you wanted to do it without an agent. She said, well, can you give me some guidance? I'm like, then I would be working for you. I'd be an implied agency. It's that simple. It's literally that simple that the moment you say anything to help guide, educate, steer, turn, correct the other party, it's implied agency. And I was like, you know what? I can't help you, but maybe you reach out to a title company can. And I said, okay. And she's like, do you have a good title person? I was like, I have a great title person. Here's their phone number. And then my title lady called me up and she said, what did I do to you to make you send me such a mean lady? I'm like, whoa, what happened?
Poor Carol Ruth.
Poor Carol Ruth. I love
Doesn't
Carol.
deserve it.
And so this lady called her up and said, hey, can you send me all the forms I need? Carol's all, we don't do that. She's like, what about all the real estate forms? I know there's forms that we need to fill out. She goes, yeah, those are real estate forms for realtors. I don't know if you guys have seen this or not, but the bottom of your documents or the top of your documents or somewhere in your documents will say it's a copywritten form. You, as a realtor, as a member of the Association of Realtors, and it's either the CAR or the AAR or your state AR, the state blank Association of Realtors gives you access to utilize real estate forms that have been vetted, created, argued, and used to help your transactions be easier. Now, let me ask you this. What happens if you just let somebody have those forms? Hey, no skin off my back. Here's some forms. You can fill them out on your own.
I'm gonna take violations for 800, Dan.
More like 1,600
Ooh.
per form. What is a commissionectomy? Gosh, this is some serious deal. That's why I say it's stupid to have a unrepresented buyer because they're still going to want to use forms. They're still going to want to use documents. They're still going to want to have your advice without paying you. And I'm saying this to the American public. And this is, I know that we do global business, but most of my clients are American based. I understand the desire to get something for nothing. I love the value of discount. I really do. I appreciate it. But do not think of me as the enemy when I tell you no. My job as a real estate professional is to protect people. And if you don't find value in that, then I'm not going to feel bad when you don't know what you're doing and you will not compensate a professional. It's like somebody having a water leak and trying to YouTube the fix themselves and then gets mad at every other plumber because no one came over and fixed it for free.
Well, that's what's crazy about what we do. It's like you could use so many examples from so many different industries and other types of professionals, and people don't even like think twice about it. It's like, well, obviously I have to pay somebody to do that because that's their job. That's what they're good at.
Mm-hmm.
You're paying a plumber $20,000 to fix your sewer work. to make sure your sewers are good. $20,000. You're paying a real estate agent less than that for the entire freaking house.
So Dan, just to play devil's advocate, wouldn't it be against our fiduciary duty to say this guy's either unrepresented or he's not submitting an offer?
Well, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, here's the opportunity you have. We have somebody on the other side that has not had any kind of real estate counsel and is coming into this blind. We might have the upper hand, but it will open us up for litigations later on down the line because he's still the consumer.
What litigations would it open up if they understand that they are unrepresented?
Jim, how many times have you ever seen a court case of somebody suing for something that was just 100% obvious, but they still won? Case in point, a cup of coffee that says, caution, coffee may be hot. How much did that lady win?
Dang.
Yeah,
So
talk about perspective.
saying like they took advantage of me because they had a real estate agent and I didn't.
Exactly.
There's a reason they put not intended for actual flight on the side of a Superman costume. Let's just say that.
But Jim, if you've got a buyer that's unrepresented, that's putting an offer in on your property, and they don't have the resources or accesses that you do, that kind of makes it an unfair playing field. Yeah, we're going to make sure that we disclose everything possible to them and let them know that they're making a poor decision by moving forward without representation, because later on down the line, who's to say the courts aren't going to side with them because they were the consumer? You're the big bad seller. Now, they may have done 100 different transactions. They may know their way around a real estate transaction better than I do. And that's fine. But there's still a risk involved when it comes to dealing with an unrepresented client. And I got to let you know that I can't help them whatsoever, so it may create friction in the transaction. They're going to ask me to do stuff. They're going to ask me to provide them information. They're going to ask me to do things that will set up implied agency. And as your fiduciary, I can't do that. And that may create, or yield to problems down the line.
What's
I
your
know
thought?
that,
Go ahead.
go ahead, Mikey.
No, I was just curious. Like, when I've talked to Amanda Clark in the past, she does like extra disclosures and stuff like that. So when it's something of that nature, she ends up doing like extra disclosures that even though they may have signed, say, in this case, an unrepresented buyer agreement, she would do an extra disclosure of the reasons why and put it down and have it signed. And so everybody sees it to kind of protect the entire transaction.
If you're going to be dumb, I want you to know why you're dumb. 100%. I want there to be zero chance that you think you're making a good decision.
Right.
What reason, can you like say what reason she would put down and have them sign? Like,
Well, Audra, think about what are all the reasons somebody should use a realtor?
oh, yeah.
Let's everyone talk about this, right? What's one reason, everyone's going to say something. What's one reason a consumer would be benefited by using a real estate professional?
Their experience of the process.
Okay, process experience. That means it's probably going to be easier. We know what we're doing. Next.
Trained in reading the contracts.
Trained in the documentation. We understand what ramifications happen or don't happen, right? What else?
Adherence to timelines.
Right? Understanding timelines.
Negotiation.
Negotiations. Yeah, usually you've never done this before. You don't know what to ask for.
Scammers.
Right?
Resources available like title.
Okay. Linear resources.
Someone might come as a scammer and they wouldn't know if it was true or not in some situations.
If you've never been exposed to it, or if you're not keen on the new way of things, it might be easier to take advantage of the person. What else? There's literally 187 different things you can say. So whatever we could see as a benefit to using a real estate professional could be an advisory against not.
It's kind of crazy that, Dan, I've talked to you about this friend of mine that's down down south there, where he's not only once but twice tried to be convinced to be unrepresented by agents, and then they come in and try to basically represent him as being unrepresented. And
Yeah,
he kind
it's a
of
great
goes
point.
with it,
Uh,
you know.
Here's a great point Mikey's talking about is I know the situation. Mikey, what happened with the unfulfilled loan contingency document?
Oh, so the listing agent, they submitted the Binzer back to the seller. The listing agent was dual representation. However, initially she wasn't, but the seller got upset about it and convinced her to. The appraisal came back low, so the buyer basically said, "Well, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and waive the contingencies. Let's come down to the price and let's just go ahead and move forward with this. What does your seller think of that?" Never got a response. On a Saturday, she sent him a unfulfilled loan contingency document and said, "You need to sign this by midnight," without explaining to him what it meant. And so he had called his lender and he had asked me. I said, basically, you're canceling the contract. You're moving forward, stating you don't want to purchase the home, or you're not qualified to purchase the home, which he was more than well qualified to purchase. So
Instead of the agent who's now in a dual representation role, supporting the best interests of both parties, they are in alignment with one, and they're only one party. Does that open up that agent for potential litigations down the line? Yeah, absolutely. That's why I say it's important. Now, people have a feeling against dual agency, and I'll tell you that sometimes dual agency can be tricky. You can have situations, and it even says on our dual agency form, there will be conflicts. It's not if there are conflicts. No, there will 100% in fact be an issue with us representing both parties, as long as you're okay with that. Well, in this situation, the seller's agent could have submitted an addendum reducing the sales price, renegotiating some terms, keeping the whole deal together to make it a win-win on both sides. But they didn't. They just said, you know what, buyers, you're going to cancel. The appraisal came in light, not realizing that this buyer had the funds to cover the difference. And they liked the house enough they were willing to do so.
right. And basically throughout the entire transaction, it was very clear that she had um, a loyalty to the seller.
Yeah.
So there
So this
wasn't,
is
yeah, it was definitely not equal representation or dual consent. It was clearly loyalties to the seller.
so there's an argument there for dual agency. There's an argument there for unrepresented clients, right? We can see how that can create a problem because if you don't have another agent on the other side working on behalf of their client and having conversations, maybe you guys don't find that middle ground that makes it a win-win and the deal still moves forward. Concessions happen, things change, agreements are made, and things are renegotiated all the time. And if you don't know that you can do so, it's very difficult to have a win-win situation because it's very much one-sided.
And what was kind of wild also about that transaction was appraisal came in low from the lender. So I don't know if it was the advice of the listing agent or what, but the seller decided to go have a private appraisal done, and the private appraisal came back higher. So they wanted to submit that to the lender, and it's like that doesn't matter. It's I mean, sure, they could submit it for review, but I think that's when the listing agent sent the unfulfilled loan contingency, because the private appraisal came back higher, and I think they might have had another buyer or something like that in line, or else wanted to go back to market. But it's an FHA appraisal, so the only opportunities they have is conventional or cash at that point. So
I hope we're making some movement for you guys here around the idea of unrepresented buyers or dual agency buyers or dual agency sellers. It's important that we have that. Now, I know of a time where we had unrepresented sellers, where we were bringing the buyer to a for sale by owner and walking through the process. There's a lot of litigation around that too. Not that I'm saying everyone should ever use a realtor, but I am saying that everyone out there should use a realtor because here's the thing. Are you going to Google how to do your own dental work? No, no. Could you? Yeah. I mean, I bet one of us on here could figure out how to do it, and the other person could hold the camera, and we could do all kinds of stuff from YouTube or Google.
All you need
Doesn't
is
mean it's
super
going to be
glue
done
and
right.
caps.
So,
All you need is super glue and caps. You're good.
super glue and aluminum foil. We're gonna make this dental work. Just because I can doesn't mean I should. Think about it that way, guys. Is just because you have the ability to do so does not mean it's in your best interest to do so. Now, I can tell you this. If I go and I look at all the transactions that we've been a part of, the thousands and thousands and thousands of deals that we've been a part of, and we were to break them down into an average value per transaction, I am confident to say that my professional fee or my team's professional fee in all those deals was well compensated, was well covered by the value that the buyer received. What do I mean by that? Well, maybe I got them some credit. Maybe I negotiated the deal and got them 15, 20, $25,000 in credit. Maybe the house had a bunch of issues and I saved them from buying a money pit. Well, Dan, how can it be valuable to not sell somebody something? Well, anyone on the call have a house that just became an absolute nightmare after closing? Yeah, Jim. Hey, I know Anthony does. I sure as hell have.
Right now.
Right now, right? And that's the thing is you're like, man, I wish you would have never bought this damn place. Because now it's our headache, not just your headache. We as real estate professionals do a lot more than just shimmy documents back and forth and play favorites. It's unfortunate that the US population sees us as a bogus fee. Trying to think of the word there, but it didn't come out. There's a prettier word to go along with it. But if you want things done right, go to a professional. That's why you hire a professional, because you want it done right. My father used to say, and he still every now and again will say, it's better to cry once than to whimper the rest of your life. Okay. Well, what does that mean? Well, it means it's better to do the tough work the first time. It's better to pay the big fee the first time than have to constantly repair small things, constantly edge yourself through. I would rather whole ass it the first time to get it done than try to half ass it over and over and over again. And as your real estate professional, my job is to make sure that we get this done the first time. Right. What are the thoughts you got on this guy? I got some good head nods today. Good conversation.
Yeah.
What else are your thoughts? Come on now. Share with me. I'm like a vampire. I feed off your energies.
I think it's just important to have to create content or have those conversations with people because they just like right now I've got a client that we're getting ready to list her place. She's moving to Texas. She wanted to look at some homes via FaceTime and looked at the first two kind of unrepresented, but by the third one, the listing agent was selling it, she contacted the listing agent. Listing agent basically said, well, before I can show it to you, you need to sign this agreement. Which we all know that there's buyer broker agreements and there's two different types. She didn't explain the two different types to her. Just said, you just need to sign it and then I can explain it to you later. She sent it to me just for review. And essentially it was a full on employment agreement, good until May for all homes, but didn't explain that to her, and that was the reason why she just wanted a second opinion. She ended up staying. I found an agent for her to utilize, but she ended up staying with that agent and she's okay with it as long as that agent doesn't sell the home or represent the seller. So she's got confirmation from lenders and stuff that the agent's great. I don't know. To me, it raised red flags without the non-explanation part of it, and just kind of, not having a conversation, not being transparent. It kind of seems like she opened herself up to a lot of potential problems if something goes wrong through it.
Integrity, my friends. No commission, no compensation, no paycheck is worth your integrity. And if somebody wants you to do something that's not right, you may lose that one deal. Hell, you might lose multiple deals with somebody who wants to do things wrong. But in the long run, you will win. So take the time to explain things correctly and protect people, and the right things will happen for you.
And I think that's the bottom line, right? We're here to protect people from making. I mean, it's the biggest purchase of their lives, biggest sell of their lives, or whatever, for most people.
Largest financial decision that they are ever likely to make.
Right, and that's really what one of the main roles that we play is to help protect them from going sideways. And I think a lot of agents forget that.
Let me add to this too. Help us protect them from themselves. All right. On the call, how many of you guys got buyers out there or sellers out there that have tried to detonate the deal because of an ego or an emotional thing, and they're just in the moment, right? We protect people from themselves. To bring it back to center, talking about unrepresented buyers or unrepresented sellers, Mr. and Mrs. Unrepresented client, when was the last time you successfully navigated a $500,000 transaction? Does that put some weight on it?
Yes.
The different markets, it's $1 million transaction.
And I mean, they might have a bad source of reference because they probably did do a transaction and it went smooth, but not every transaction is the same.
Yeah, you know what? When it's done right, it's smooth. When it's done right, it doesn't feel like you should pay for it. And I believe that professionalism shows up when things go wrong. But we as professionals help provide the perspective for potential buyers and sellers to realize that the service that you provide is one of value, one of need. There are huge groups of people out there and entire government agencies working to get rid of us. And the fact of the matter is they can't, because this is a skilled process that requires skilled guidance. So the more you take to build your skills, develop your skills, hone your skills, the better you are at protecting the people that we are in business with. Because after all, in real estate, we get paid a lot of money because we do a lot of work. It may seem like some realtors just cash checks and don't do anything. You don't know the behind the scenes. You don't know the work they're doing to protect people. So provide that perspective, communicate with the buyers and sellers out there. And if someone wants to ultimately become unrepresented, be careful not to do anything that will create implied agency. That is a dangerous, dangerous hill to be walking on, because it potentially could create a very nasty situation for you. So disclose, 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 and then disclose again. And if they keep asking you questions, tell them, hey, it really sounds like you should have your self-representation, and I'm glad to do so. This is my fee. If today was worth your time, give me a head nod. Okay. Okay. I got a thumbs up from Sabrina. Any other thoughts, comments, concerns before we part?
Have a great day.
There we go. All right.